Hey everybody, Ken Dunek, Mark Eckel. It's the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark, and I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I personally am glad that the game was on Friday rather than Thursday because I would have lost my appetite watching the Eagles struggle the way they did. And Mark, you're old enough to remember the old game show with Alan Ludden, Password, right? Remember that show? Well, my password today is bleak because the weather is turning into winter. You're not concerned about that. You're in Myrtle Beach. The Eagles' performance was bleak, and we're losing ground to the Dallas Cowboys. So, what are your initial impressions of what you saw on Friday, partner?
I don't know what I saw on Friday. I saw something I didn't expect to see on both sides of the ball. The offense has been struggling. We've talked about that week after week after week. Um, Elliot Shore Parks, who was on with us a couple weeks ago, I thought he broke it down to best by just saying he thought the offense was a little older, which they are, and maybe just a little. They played a lot of games last year. Barkley had a lot of snaps or a lot of touches and carries, and so I could, he kind of explained it better than most, and but he also told me how the defense was going to carry them through the rest of the year. Well, the defense was awful. You,
Mm-hmm.
you give up that many yards on the ground. That's
That
embarrassing.
that was the most disappointing thing to me, seeing our defensive line get gashed, and then our linebackers have done a pretty good job this year, didn't fill, and the Bears, ran wild over 'em.
Guys gaining over 100 yards. That doesn't happen too often. Two running backs. So it wasn't like one guy was just great. I mean, it was just. I think something has to be answered there. I mean, everybody wants to kill the offense and deservedly. Oh, the offense is not. It does not what it. A team with the talent they have on offense: Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and you could say the line isn't as good as it was. Okay, well, but it's not. I've seen worse lines put up better numbers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the Randall Cunningham Eagles had an awful offensive line in front of him, but they still managed to get by and score some points. You know, um, but like I said, the defense, which had carried them through some, the win over Green Bay, 10-7, whatever it was, they stood up. But they didn't either. They're getting tired too now, or something's wrong because
Well, they're on the field a lot because we go three and out a lot, and very seldom do you see Vic Fangio get out coached like that. Ben Johnson is really a genius. I
pretty
mean,
good.
that guy is really the best of the best. But let me. I want to welcome our guest here in a second. We have a really special one today that I'm looking forward to talking to. I do want to remind everybody that even though we're doing this remotely because of some studio changes, the Sweet Recording Studios hosts the podcast, and it's produced by Joe Congemi. If you want to do a podcast, and almost everybody wants to do one these days, contact Joe at sweetrecording.com. Chris Wilhelm, Citywide Mortgage, can handle all of your home mortgage needs. Chris is a great Eagles fan and a great member of Jersey Man Magazine's Chairman's Club. Contact Chris at 609-234-4304. That's Chris Wilhelm at Citywide Mortgage. Tony DiGirolamo, DiGirolamo Financial. Tony is a one-stop shop for all your financial and insurance needs. Tony can be contacted at 609-541-7515. That's Tony DiGirolamo at DiGirolamo Financial. And Adjust Your Sleep Mattress Boutique. Contact Kelly at 856-357-3640. I wish I would have had Kelly's number on speed dial because I've had a few sleepless nights since the Eagles game. Might need a new mattress, but contact Kelly for your mattress needs. And of course, Jersey Man Magazine. We just had our charity gala. We've got our big holiday party coming up at the end of December. If you'd like to attend that as my guest and check out all the great networking that's going on with Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine, contact me, Ken at jerseymanmagazine.com. Okay, we're going to welcome in a really special guest, the Eagles play-by-play guy since 1977. I met him in 1980. We've remained close friends and share some family history together with our kids. And I want to bring into the podcast Merrill Reese. Merrill, how are you? Thanks for coming
I
on.
am well, Kenneth. It's good to see you and Mark.
Yes. So give me the bird's eye view. Well, before we get to that, what's your favorite golf experience at Marion. Who did you play with? What was the score? Give me the one memorable. I'm sure you've had many memorable rounds at Marion since you're a member, but what's the one that stands out for you?
Boy, that's a good question. Yeah, I've had a lot. I have had a lot, and I've had a lot that I'd like to forget. Also,
What's your low score at Marion? What's the best you've ever shot there?
81.
That's pretty darn good. That is, and that's the East Coast.
That, I might add that was on the West.
Oh, it's on the West.
But
okay.
but
It's
the
still
West
pretty
is
good.
a,
Anytime you
West is
shoot
a very
81, I
good
don't care.
course. They're both beautiful courses.
Yes, they are. Actually,
But they're great courses, and I've had a lot of fun. I have a great course, and we meet each week, and we play. And Cindy and I play in the nine and dimes. And I have a group. We have a group that gets together on Saturday mornings called the Mob, and they divide us up into foursomes, and we go out and play a tournament. It's great.
Well, you don't play on Saturday mornings of football season.
No,
no.
no.
You're in.
I should say yes and no. If it's September and it's
Yeah.
a beautiful Saturday morning and we have a home game on Sunday, sure,
Okay.
I'll go play then.
Okay, I thought you'd be in deep meditation, getting ready for the broadcast.
No, I'm in deep meditation after the game lately.
Okay. Well, tell me, you're there daily, Merrill. You call the games, you see them all. You're in the locker room, I assume, once a week. What's going on here? What is your opinion on why the Eagles are struggling right now?
I am going to tell you, and Mark alluded to it, but I don't think in as much of an influence as it really is, that the biggest difference between this year and last year is that last year they had the best offensive line in the entire NFL. Great running back who was able to take advantage of running to daylight. This year, you have Lane Johnson, who's out for who knows how long, but at least another 3 or 4 weeks. And before that, he was out with neck problems. He's been in and out all season before the Liz Frank thing. Then you have Cam Jurgens, who's an outstanding center, but he's coming off of back surgery, and he's not playing with the same strength. Landon Dickerson had back surgery and knee surgery in the offseason. And then you have Tyler Steen, who's a first-year player. Now, the only guy who's playing at full strength is Jordan Mailata, but you need 5, not 1. Yeah. And that's the biggest difference in this team, both from a standpoint of run blocking and pass protection. And it's big.
Yeah, Mark Elliott Shore Parks commented a couple of weeks ago that the Eagles don't have as good an offensive line, and they are a year older, and they're a little nicked up, and it's made a big difference. I mean, you've gone from Saquon Barkley, who probably could have set the all-time rushing record last year, to a team that's totally inept with the running game. You really don't see this kind of a fall from grace very often, or at least I haven't.
Well, if you look at the stats, I think last year he ran 3.4 yards before any contact.
Right.
And now it's in the low 2s.
Right.
That's a big difference.
What do you think, Mark?
Again, I'm okay. Well, I'm not okay, but we've gone over the offense and their struggles and the injury. What happened to the defense Friday?
Well, this is just a thought. When the offense is going 3 and out, as often as they have, when they're non-productive, the defense is just on the field so much that they're going to wear down somewhat. Now, that's no excuse for giving up a 21-0 lead in Dallas. That was hard to watch, but I think it definitely preys on the defense also, and they've had problems putting together 2 starting corners. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell is great. Adoree Jackson is very good one week, okay another week, and not so good another week. Cam, you get a lot out of Cooper DeJean, but he's really a slot corner. He's really that's what he is, and he's great at it. But he's not an outside corner, or maybe he could be if he worked at it and practiced at it every day. But that's not where they have him.
I think your comments, you're being a little bit kind to Adoree Jackson. I think he's a subpar corner. I don't think he's shown the consistency. And I love guys like Jackson. I love guys that scratch their way onto a roster and, trying to compete up there. But quite frankly, he's just not good enough. And Reed Blankenship, who's a great safety, a great hitter, has trouble covering wide receivers and tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. He got beat a few times in that game. So I think that leads to some of the things. And I was also
Well, he
disappointed with
did, Ken, but in all fairness to Blankenship, I think he's playing hurt too. Don't forget the week before he didn't finish the game,
he did
and he had a thigh injury or a calf injury, and I don't think he was physically 100%. But what Reed has, he has great instincts. He has great ball instincts. He just seems to be where the pass is, and he comes up with interceptions. But in terms of pure speed, that's why he was not a high draft pick.
Mark, I was really surprised that the linebackers that really couldn't fill when the defensive line was getting beat. And then, of course, we lost contain a couple times on outside runs that hurt us. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, but like I said, I didn't think the defense that was probably as bad a game as the defense has played in a while. But here's a question I have for if I was still around all the time. I thought the Campbell kid was playing pretty well. Their first round pick out of Alabama.
Dean's getting all the snaps.
He's done play at all now.
Yeah, no, Dean's getting them all.
So Kobe Dean's back, and everybody loves Kobe Dean, and they love Zach Bond. And but I didn't think Campbell did. Again, I'm not there. There might be something happening that I don't know about. Maybe he's blowing assignments that you don't see when you're just watching it on TV. But to not play at all, I don't think he took a snap against America. I think.
I think he's on teams. I think he does play special teams, but he did not take a snap with the defense.
Well, I thought that on TV is different than being there, but I thought he played pretty well those early. I thought he was a candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year at one point.
Well, he did make plays. He had a game-saving interception in Tampa Bay.
Hey, Merrill, let's talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts. He's a guy that I admire. He is not as sharp as he's been in years past. His reads have been terribly off. That ball that he threw behind to Smith, that if he throws it in front of him, could have been a touchdown.
Well,
Dallas Goedert was wide open down the middle of the field on that same play.
Let me explain that play to you as it was explained to me by my partner in the broadcast booth, Mike Quick. Mike Quick said that was a quick shot where the snap comes back to Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have a read. He throws to a spot, and he threw to the spot. Unfortunately, Devontae Smith ran a slant, and when they came over to the bench, Devontae Smith was right up to Jalen Hurts and basically said it was my mistake. That was a snap to the quarterback. He's supposed to sit down there. The ball was delivered where he was, not where he passed.
So wait, so you're telling me that the play is designed not to read the defense? Is Dallas Goedert?
That's a quick take a snap and throw to Devontae Smith at a spot
okay.
where he would have been open. If he sat down right there, and that's where Jalen Hurts threw the ball. I'm not making an excuse for Jalen Hurts.
No,
but
I get it.
He ran it was Mike called it a miscommunication, but clearly on that particular play, it was not an off target. It was an easy pass to make if the call was for a slant, but it was for a spot. He was supposed to sit down right there in an open area, which it was, and that's where Jalen delivered that ball.
Merrill, do you have the TV feed in your booth? Do you watch any of the live TV feed that's going on? Do you have access?
But Mike does. I don't, because the TV feed is on a delay.
Okay.
So it's on like a 3 or 5 second delay. So Mike likes it because it gives him an opportunity to analyze the play that I just called.
Gotcha.
It gives him another look at it. But I can't use it.
The reason why I asked is there were several shots of Hurts on the sideline looking sullen and pouty and off by himself. I remember commenting to Mark, and Mark, maybe you can comment on this right now, that last year Hurts was a little more boisterous on the sideline. He was actually up cheering, and now he looks like he's gone back to the 2023 model, which is sitting by himself and looking a little bit soft. I mean, do you notice that too on the TV? Is it just me? And that's the first question. The second question is, do you think that affects his teammates when he does that?
Well, I think there's a lot going on with this team that um, we don't know about. I mean, Derek Gunn breaks the story a couple of weeks ago about nobody like Hurts is the people talking about her. I mean, that plays on you. I don't care what. I don't care what they say.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that, by the way.
I'm just saying, when you hear about it all the time, and Philly's a tough town. Let's be honest. You have the two radio stations that go at it every day. You have the news. I don't know. I don't know. There's no more newspapers per se, but people writing. Um, it's got to play on the players' minds. I mean, I don't think this is. I know everybody's comparing this to 2023 and the collapse. I don't think it's going to happen again.
I don't either.
Either, Merle. Um, I mean, listen, there's something wrong. The team's not playing well. Like, they played awful second half against the Cowboys, and they followed up with a bad game at home against the Bears. They got to go to Los Angeles. That's not going to be easy. Then they have the Raiders.
They better beat the Raiders, or it's sayonara, benvenuti.
Because the Raiders are god awful. I mean, god awful.
They are awful, and now they've lost their wonderful offensive coordinator.
Got that 146 yards yesterday. So that was Pete Carroll's senile. Pete Carroll has lost it. He should not be coaching.
Well, I wouldn't say that because I'm not around
anymore.
I just know they're a bad football team, and you know what the Eagles have to do? They have to come in whenever they come in today or tomorrow and say enough is enough. We've got 5 games left, and and each game is an elimination game. That if we lose it, we're done. That's the mindset that they have to take. Each game is a playoff game, because if they don't have that mindset, pretty soon the Cowboys are going to be here, and the Eagles are going to be a game or so behind them, because they're rolling right now. The Eagles are not. But I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy. I think he does everything you want him to do. He's got the arm strength to throw it any place on the field. He can move. But when he does something wrong, he gets killed, Mark. One writer yesterday questioned his height. He's about, they say 6'1". I think he's close to 6'2". He's not a little quarterback. And he can, he's big and he's strong, and he's not a little quarterback. You thought by that they were talking about Drew Brees, which would be a nice thing to talk about, or Bryce Young, who's a smallish quarterback. He's not a little quarterback. So they're questioning his height. Somebody said his arm strength. They questioned everything about him. But meanwhile, a guy like Matthew Stafford, who's talked about as a potential MVP, could go out yesterday, throw 2 interceptions, one's a pick 6, and when the game is at its greatest moment, most critical moment, he fumbles. Nobody out there is going to criticize Matthew Stafford. Now, he's earned that over the years, of course. But the fact of the matter is they love to jump on Jalen Hurts.
Why is that, bro?
I don't know. Mark, I think you've been around enough to know that they booed Ron Jaworski. They booed Randall Cunningham. They booed every quarterback that's ever come through here.
In my opinion,
and then when they leave and say how much they love them.
Yeah, but in my opinion, and I'm not there. I never covered Jalen. I covered all those other guys. I covered the end of Jaworski. I covered all of Randall, all of Donovan, and I liked Randall a lot, and I defended Donovan. To me, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in Eagle history.
I agree.
He is.
That's more than quarterback's ever done, and he won. He would have been MVP of 2 of them if they won the first one.
Yeah, he's outplayed Patrick Mahomes now 4 straight times.
Yeah, I mean, they're questioning his height. Did he shrink from last year?
No, I actually think he grew a little since he's been here. He's about 6'2".
Not only do I think he's the best quarterback in Eagles history, I think he says all the right things before the game and after the game. He never throws his teammates or coaches under the bus. He always takes responsibility. I mean, to me, that's a really admirable quality, Merrill, when you stand up there and take the heat like that.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Absolutely. I mean, It's amazing to me that he really says he took it on himself to say, listen, I can't fumble. I fumbled in a bad situation, and I can't throw a pick. And he 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 hardly ever turns it over. I mean, he really doesn't. He gives you everything he has. And Mark, you're right. He does not point fingers at coaches. He does not point fingers at teammates. You know, Aaron Rodgers yesterday came off and said something about the fact that it might help if the guys were at meetings, or if the receivers wouldn't be running wrong patterns.
Right.
You know, I mean, you'll never hear that. You'll
No.
never hear that from Jalen Hurts.
That's not going
And
to
he
endear.
is well liked in the locker room. You have to be yourself. I mean,
Yes.
you're going to find a guy like Baker Mayfield, who I love, jumping all over the field, patting up. You know, he comes out, he's all revved up because that's who he is.
Yes.
But that's not who Jalen Hurts is.
I agree
And
with
it
you,
would be
Merrill,
phony
but
for him to act otherwise.
I do think when things are going south that you do need to, as a leader of the team, get up and be a little more animated on the sideline. And I understand that's not his nature. I get it. Well, talk to me a little bit about, Kevin Patullo is getting a lot of heat right
Getting
now.
killed.
And, people have to remember the team is 8-4. We are going through a little bit of a struggle here, but I do think that his play calling is a little bit unimaginative. The scheme seems rather rudimentary to me. I don't see much motion. I don't see hardly any rub routes, very few screens. What are your thoughts on the Eagles schematically going into these games, Merrill?
I think it's a process. I'm not going to point the fingers. Everybody here is ready to change. I mean, I don't mean the team, but they're pointing the fingers at Kevin Patullo. He's a bright guy. He's been the run game coordinator for the last 4 years. He knows what he's doing. Let me tell you a story. And I'm not somebody who lives in the past. Mark knows that, but I've had a lot of past, as we all have. And I go back to a game in Washington many years ago, and the Eagles were about to play they called them the Redskins then, and they were supposed to play them the next day. And I was in the hotel, and I went over to the greatest offensive mind I've ever met, the guy who actually invented the West Coast offense, by the name of Sid Gilman.
Mm-hmm.
And we would talk a lot. He would let me come into the film room with him and watch film, and he would show me things. So I went over to him in the hotel, and I said to him in the lobby, I said, tell me how you use the hash marks in the West Coast offense. And he said, I think he had it with me. He said, come over here, sit down. So I sat down on a sofa in the lobby of the Crystal City Marriott, and he said, I want to tell you something. We're going to play a team tomorrow, and we know exactly what they're going to do. We know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to give the ball to 44, and he's going to run a counter trey. We know they're going to do that, but when the day is over, we're going to find that we had our rear ends handed to us because we can't stop it. He said the most overrated thing in football is play calling. The most overrated thing. He said every week we go into a stadium and there are 60,000 offensive coaches sitting in the stands, but they don't know anything about defense. But they are all offensive geniuses sitting in the stands. He said, do you think people were surprised when Jerry Rice ran a quick slant and Joe Montana hit him over the middle? Or even going back further, when Bart Starr pitched out to Paul Hornung and Fuzzy Thurston and Jerry Kramer pulled and they ran student body right, that was no surprise.
Mm-hmm.
It's just its execution. It's
Right.
how they execute, how they run these plays, and that's what it is. I wonder. I mean, frankly the Bears' offensive line just controls the line of scrimmage. If you go back a couple of weeks to that horrible game at the Meadowlands when the Giants beat the Eagles up there the first meeting, the whole field looked like Scatterboo was running downfield.
Mm-hmm.
And you just watch the line move in that direction. The Eagles couldn't stop them that night. So I'm surprised because I think the Eagles have a lot of strength on that defensive line, but maybe they were tired or whatever. But the Bears were, give them credit. I hate the word fraud because I don't think it belongs in sports. But I think the Bears took a lot of criticism that they didn't deserve in the evaluations where people said, well, they're playing a last place schedule. Well, yeah, maybe they are, but they're a good team. They've got a very, very good offense right now. And Caleb Williams, who last year kind of you wondered if he wasn't the bust. Caleb Williams isn't there yet, but he's going. He's light years past
Very,
where
very
he
good.
was last year.
First pick in the draft for a
Yeah,
reason.
and those two backs, the Eagles had him. DeAndre Swift is a really good back, and the non-guy. I mean, I don't know the last time Mark, a Rutgers back, came out and did what he's. Oh yeah, Pacheco, Isaiah Pacheco. He's another Rutgers back. And they've got another
seventh round choice
that I saw last Saturday losing to Penn State, but they've got another great back. But these guys are good too. But the offensive line is really good.
Hey, Mark, you concerned about Jake Elliott at all? He's had a couple of misses here, two weeks in a row. He missed the extra point, which turned out to be really big at the end of the game. I'll go over Nick Sirianni's decision to go for 2 there at the end of the game. But any concerns about Elliott?
More concerned about Sirianni.
I'm not concerned about Jake. Jake's missed 1 extra point all year. That was into a crazy wind. But he's missed 1. And the field goal was a 51-yarder. I don't even know how he got it that far because it was 20 miles an hour. But Jake has only missed 3 field goals and 1 extra point all year. I mean, I think he's like 12 for 14 or 12 for 15 now in field goals. And I think he's something like 22 for 23 and extra points.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not worried about Jake.
Can somebody explain why they went for 2?
Well, listen, we are old school guys, and analytics to us is a kind of a foreign concept. And I saw on Twitter Greg Olson defending that play, and to me it made no sense at all. And his rationale was, you want to know how many possessions you have left in the game. Well, with 3.5 minutes to go, you're probably going to have 1, and you have to make that a 1-score game. Now, Merrill, we live in a different age. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I saw them come out to go for 2, my immediate reaction was, what? Because to me, they were down by 9 points.
Right.
They were down 25-16. That's 9 points, I imagine. So to me, Dick Vermeil, again, Mark, here I go in the past. Dick Vermeil told me years ago, one of his sentences was, a coach has an obligation to extend the chance of winning as long as he possibly can. Mm-hmm. So if you go for 1, an extra point, it's an 8-point game. That's 1 possession.
Right.
If you go for 2 and fail, the game's over. I mean, miracle things can happen. But basically, when they went for 2 and failed, at that moment, I saw hundreds of people heading for each exit. Mm-hmm. The game was basically over.
Mark, I watched the post-game interview with Sirianni. I don't think the reporters ever even asked him about it, and that puzzled me.
Oh, I think they did. I don't want to quote him because I wasn't there, but it was something to the effect, as it's been explained to me, that he has every situation mapped out.
I'm sure they do.
They have the card when to go for what.
But at some point, common sense has to take over, though, doesn't it?
Well, but if you ask Nick about analytics, Nick's answer is that it's only a part of it. It's something that he uses as he sees fit, but he doesn't go by analytics. He goes by what he thinks. Analytics is one factor that feeds into his overall decision.
I just don't understand
it.
I said it when it happened. I couldn't, but I was with you, Merle. I'm looking at it saying, is the score wrong on TV? Is it not the right score?
It makes sense.
I was even more surprised when Greg Olson got on Twitter and was defending it. Hey, we got to wrap up here, guys. We're catching the Chargers. Justin Herbert is going to have surgery on his left hand on Monday, which means he'll probably play, I believe, but he's not going to be able to take snaps under center, which really helps the Eagles because it takes one dimension out of their game. Mark, what do you think about that? I mean, it's got to be a plus for us, right?
Sure. Any advantage like that. I mean, he's going, like you said, he'll play because the Chargers need that game as well, and it is his left hand. But
that's what Aaron Rodgers did yesterday.
He played.
You see him after the game. He had the hand in a cast. His nose was bleeding.
Yeah.
He looked like he just came out of a car wreck.
Yeah, he was wondering why he wasn't on the beach in Malibu, as they said during the broadcast, right? Hey, listen, we got to wrap it up. Merrill, I love you, brother. I've known you for a long time. You've always been very kind to me and gracious and jumping on this podcast. And thanks for Mark to setting this up. And hopefully I'll see you two more times down the road, and maybe even at the Super Bowl again. You never know. But thanks for joining us, Merrill. I appreciate you being
Mark,
on.
I'll tell you how much Ken loved training camp. That at the lunch break during training camp, Ken and I would sneak away from Westchester and go play tennis.
That's right. That's right. How I had the energy to do that during Vermeil's camps, I don't know. That kind of tells you how smart I was, too, to be honest with you.
No.
Anyway, Merrill, thanks for being on. Mark, always a pleasure to be with you. We will be on next week after the Chargers game, hopefully talking about a win. So for Mark Eckel and Merrill Reese, this is Ken Dunek. Thanks for joining the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Take care.